Welcome to Around the Kitchen Table with CIA Alumni. I'm Steve Swafford, and I'm an Advancement Officer for Alumni Relations at the Culinary. The Culinary Institute of America created Around the Kitchen Table as a way to give our food enthusiasts and our alumni a more engaging experience with some of our fellow alumni chefs, like they're literally sitting around the table and gathering together. The Fail Fox Distillery has made it possible to bring you this event free of charge and will be matching any donations made to the CIA's Financial Relief Scholarship prior to and during the event. This fund was established in response to the COVID-19 pandemic in an effort to continue to help students pursue their dreams of culinary education. If you'd like to make a donation, you can do so by visiting www.ciachef.edu/give. The link will also be available in the chat just to your right. Y'all are in for a great treat this afternoon. Chef Johnny Hernandez, class of 1989, is with us from San Antonio. And if you're looking to cook along with Johnny, now's the time to pull up your recipe. Johnny's going to be joined today by mixologist Tom Lasher-Walker, representing the Vale Fox Distillery, who'll get us started with a cocktail. Tom, great to have you.
How you guys all doing? You good?
Great, it's great to have you here. I know we've got a great group of people. We're seeing lots of comments coming in the chat, so we'll let you get started.
All right, I really appreciate this, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Tom Lasher-Walker. I'm here live from my kitchen in Miami, which for the first time this week is clean and tidy both at the same time. Obviously, you know, I want to make sure that I give you guys a good impression, and the mixologists and bartenders, when they have off days, they actually do some cleaning around the house as opposed to sleeping until 3:30 in the afternoon. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel very much like Zoom calls and Zoom conferences and Zoom events like this are the epitome and the perfect reflection of 2020. So, you know, awkward silences with distant strangers, and very much like 2020, we're wondering, is this thing on? And when will this thing end? But anyway, moving along from weird jokes with bartenders who have very peculiar accents, it's a real pleasure today to be able to present to you guys on behalf of the CIA, obviously the Culinary Institute of America and not the Central Intelligence Agency. That event will be, oh, sorry, that's top secret, we won't talk about that. But especially on behalf of Todd and Vixen's Dry Gin, 1651, from the Vale Fox Distillery in LaGrange up in New York. Now, I challenge anyone to say any of that with a mouthful of marbles after you've had 3 of what I'm about to make you. Now, speaking of which, we're going to be making a drink called the Andalusian Book, or as I like to bastardize it and call it, the Andalusian Book. Obviously, a bit of a sherry kind of spin on what we know as the book or the mule. And when I talk about books, I don't mean things that you read. Again, I have to apologize for my accent. It's actually what we call an alternative name for the mule. And when we talk about mules and books, we're basically talking about something that has a good amount of lime, it has a good amount of ginger beer, and it has any spirit that you desire. So the most famous book that we're aware of outside of the Moscow Mule is The Dark and Stormy, obviously with a Bermudan, a very dark Bermudan rum. But like I said, don't let that stop you there. What we're going to do today is the Andalusian Book. And the Andalusian Book is, it was created by a very good bartender, bar operator, and someone who had a hand in this gin called Jeffrey Morgenthaler. That's the recipe that he came up with. It's going to be a fantastic accompaniment to Chef Johnny's cuisine that we're going to be seeing today. And Jeffrey Morgenthaler, like I said, not only did he have a hand in this gin, but he was helped by 2 other super influential bartenders and bar operators as well. One of them is the late Gary Reagan, who had a huge impact on our profession and industry over the last 40 or 50 years. And Leo Robotchek, formerly of the Nomad Hotel, someone who has had a huge influence on the international cocktail scene in the US and other parts of the world as well. So we'll get started. I don't know if Chef Johnny wants to join us to see if you know, I make this properly. Maybe we could have a little bit of back and forth. What we're going to do to start with, we're going to use our cheapest ingredients first. So we're going to get some fresh lime juice. We squeezed about half an hour ago. All right, we're going to put in about a ½ ounce. Okay, we always try and put in our cheapest ingredients first, just in case we accidentally knock it over. Okay. Fresh lime juice. We're going to add a tiny bit of demerara syrup. This demerara syrup is a 2-to-1, and by that I mean we add 2 parts of demerara to 1 part water. Now, you might be thinking, oh, that's kind of thick, that's kind of sweet. What it actually lets us do is that it gives a little bit of backbone and viscosity to the drink. It almost acts like a little bit of a glue.
So me too.
The amount of sugar in there. Hey, Chef, how's it going? Welcome.
Oh, man. I'm getting ready to pair something up with your beautiful cocktail.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll get going. I'm sure people are more interested in eating than drinking, although I don't know, it's really funny, so they're probably going to discriminate by this point. So, Chef, I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of the demerara syrup. Now, what I'm using here is a jigger. You can get these from Amazon. You can get these from other department stores. Chef, you want to back me up and talk about how important it is that we measure our ingredients and why it's important that we make sure that we have the right amount of measurements for water?
Well, precision is important in a lot of things. And although I think we're definitely a creative industry and we're surrounded by creative minds in our world, accuracy is, creates consistent excellence. So we do have to use a lot of discipline in measurements. And I know those jiggers, we make our barmen use them every day because it is what keeps that consistent flavor and profile of the finished product that, ultimately we create as the creative kind of minds behind the development of our products.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought up the concept and subject of consistency a couple of times. I'm always a big fan of making sure that everything that I do is as consistent as possible. It's the one thing that we strive for. Right. I believe that consistency breeds excellence.
Definitely. Key.
So, Chef, thank you for joining us. Looking forward to seeing what you're cooking up. Just for the viewers at home, I put in an ounce of Amontillado sherry. So this is where our Iberian, Latin, European continental feel for the Andalusian book comes from. So we have an ounce of that. The good thing is that this drink isn't overly, it's not too stiff, so it's something you can have more than one of, obviously if you drink responsibly. And to counteract that, we're going to add 1 ounce of the Todd & Vixen's Dry Gin 1951. Now, the great thing about this is that you guys might be thinking, oh, why is it only putting an ounce in? I like my drinks a little stiffer, a little boozier. And I don't blame you, I understand. The good thing about this gin is that it's got a good ABV about it. It's about 48%, I believe. So it's about 96 proof. It's non-chill filtered. So it's got one hell of a body and one hell of a viscosity about it. So when it comes to gin, I think the important thing is that when you get the finished product, once it comes off the still, once the master distiller has done what he needs to do with it, once it comes in the bottle and it gets home to you, you need to make sure that whatever you mix it with, it punches right through, okay? Because it's got to give it like a really aggressive hug. Like it's got to wrap its arms around it, but it's got to hold it tight to make sure that you know what it is that you're drinking. Now with this gin specifically, the one thing I like about it is the amount of botanicals that are in there, and there are only about 8 botanicals. And the reason why I think this is important is because nowadays, I think when it comes to gin, and I just want to say for the record, I've never tried a bad gin, but I do think some gins are better than others. I think sometimes when we see gin botanicals or a certain amount of gin botanicals, it's almost like a trophy, or like how many can we get in there? And I'm a big believer in less being more. So while we have some gins that have 20, 30 botanicals upwards, sometimes it's quite difficult to pick out nuanced flavors or something specific. And I'm a big fan of making sure that if you have somewhere between 4, 6, even 8 and 12, then you're going to be able to get everything that the gin wants to offer you. So in this one, we have juniper, we have fresh orange peel, we have a kind of funky and left field botanical called rooibos tea, angelica root, which is what I call like a fixer. It helps keep everything together, along with a couple of other botanicals in there as well. And I'm pretty sure that we're good and we're ready to shake. So we have everything measured in our cocktail shaker. Everything is in here.
Hey, Tom, while you're getting ready to mix, a couple questions came in, and this one's probably really hard because both of those, there's really not. Someone asked what could be substituted to make their cocktail a virgin cocktail of the Andalusia that you're making. That's kind of a difficult one because I don't know if there's
it's a valid thing. So what I would do if you want to go to this effort, which I think is plausible and worth it. If you manage to get some fresh ginger juice, just ginger root that's juiced, strain it, and then add that to your drink. Yes, I'm using ginger beer, and yes, it will be pretty spicy, but it adds a good amount of heat, and this is something that you can impress your friends with. The ginger that hits the taste receptacles in the mouth are the same taste receptacles that we use to taste alcohol with. So it actually has the same effect. Not mentally, you understand, but like psychologically, it has the same effect in our mouth as when we're actually drinking alcohol. So you can definitely add a little bit of ginger juice there. If you wanted to, you could also up the lime juice that you're using. So you can make it a little bit more acidic and a little bit more tart. And there's nothing to stop you adding another form of juice in there either to kind of counteract that. So we're talking maybe something dry like grapefruit juice, or maybe even something orange and pineapple if you have a slightly sweeter juice.
And Adam, too, Tom, too, someone we just had asked about what the sherry was again that you used. They missed the sherry that you said.
Sherry.
So they were asking if you could share that.
Amontillado sherry. Amontillado sherry. There's a couple of different kinds of sherries that exist. PX is a pretty common one, but it's quite rich and raisiny, and it's more for something that I would have like after dinner. Fino's a little bit kind of drier compared to this. This kind of, for me, it sits somewhere in the middle, kind of like kissing cousins of Oloroso.
Awesome, thanks. And someone else was actually asking too, which really is what you did. They asked if they can use just regular simple syrup rather than the demerara syrup.
You can do that. Just bear in mind that it probably won't have as much of an effect flavor-wise. So you'll know that it's there. The demerara, basically what simple syrup does in most drinks, if you use it correctly, it's not always there as a sweetener, which sounds like a little bit of an oxymoron because it's sugar syrup. But what sugar syrup does under the right circumstances, it actually helps glue and bind things together. So sometimes if you mix sometimes three ingredients and it's just a little bit dry, or sometimes the drink itself is a little bit thin, what simple syrup does is that it helps just kind of like round the edges. The perfect example of that is what it does in an old fashioned. I think all old fashions should have sugar in them, but old fashions should never taste sweet. The idea is just to take the edge of something and to help kind of smooth the edges. Simple syrup will be fine. You'll probably get the same results. Demerara just adds like a tiny bit of depth and a little bit of complexity to the rest of the ingredients there.
Las flores no.
All right. Okay. So I think we're good to shake. And no good cocktail is completed or is going to taste any good unless we shake it properly. So I'm going to get a big piece of ice. You'll see here that I have like a fairly sizable cube, and I only have one of them, which is all I need. This is roughly a 2x2. I'm going to put it in the main part of the shaker and then pour drink on top. I'm going to get a hit. The one thing I'm going to do with this drink, you'll notice, is that when I shake it, as much as I'll look a little bit cheesy and a little bit like Tom Cruise, only not as attractive and weirder sounding from the movie Cocktail, is I'm going to shake it for only a couple of seconds. And there's a really, really simple reason for this. It's because I don't want too much dilution to go from the ice cube into the drink. Okay, I need the ice to chill the drink as quickly as possible, but I also need to make sure that the water content is as little as possible as well. So I'm going to give it a... That's it. Now with the ice, you can buy bigger ice cube trays from Amazon. You can also get them from other bar supply stores. They're not that much. I think they're a good investment. If you fill them like on a random night, then you're always going to have ice available to make a good drink with, whether you want something on the rocks or whether you want something, something shaken like this. And for me, Chef Johnny, again, I don't know what you think about this. I always feel like ice for bartenders and people like me in my profession is just as important as fire and heat is for people in your profession.
Well, I'm always impressed by what you all create, and it's amazing to see not only the evolution of gin here in the U.S. Having worked in the U.K. for a couple years and in Spain, traveled through Spain. It's great to see American distillers really creating their own versions of gin. So,
I agree. It's nice to see. It's nice to see a category that was once so unpopular and so still and dusty be reinvigorated over the last 20 years by what distillers and individuals are doing. So yeah, and it's with that it's a real pleasure to be able to make this drink with you guys. So what I've done here, just a couple of other pointers and tips and bits and pieces. You'll notice that once I shook the drink, I actually poured the ginger beer into the shaker. The reason for that is because I want everything to be mixed together proportionally and properly. Sometimes what you'll find with certain drinks or certain bartenders is that they can shake the drink or they can build the drink in a glass, and then after that they'll top it up, and then you'll essentially have unintentionally a layered effect. So you'll need to like mix it up, and then sometimes you can lose some of the effervescence and you can make it a little bit more watered. So the idea was to add the ginger beer to the shaker. We then pour the drink over a chilled glass with an ice cube. You can't quite see it, but this glass spent some time in the freezer before I brought it out, and I think it's important. Again, like, you know, food served on a hot dish, I think drinks should be served in a cool glassware. And what we have here is let's see if I can do this without spilling it all over the counter. We have an ice sphere. You can get these, you can get molds for these online as well. The important thing here is to give you an indication of, again, about the importance of why ice plays such an important role in your drinks. I don't think it can be underestimated. I think it's maybe the most important thing that we put in our drinks on a day-to-day basis. But if you don't have that, normal ice works as well. And this is what we have. This is what I've ended up with. So it's the Andalusian Buck. So just to recap, we have 1 ounce of Todd and Vixen's dry gin, 1651, 1 ounce of this guy, 1 ounce of Amontillado sherry. We have half ounce of lime juice, and always make sure that you squeeze your lime juice fresh, folks. And we have a tablespoon, roughly a half tablespoon of demerara syrup. And we shake that very briefly with a big ice cube. We top it up with ginger beer, and then we strain it and pour it over a big ice cube. One thing we're going to do is we're going to garnish it with a lime wheel. People talk about garnishes or, you know, question why we have certain garnishes. The reason why I like a lime wheel, because visually it looks quite appealing. And the thing is that you don't actually need to do anything else with a drink. If you had a wedge or a lime wedge, you might be tempted to squeeze it and put it in there, and then you have, like, you know, what looks like a sunken lime ball floating around in your drink, and a drink that's slightly more acidic. Sometimes with lime wedges or with citrus wedges, it gives you the impression that you still need to do something to your drink once you get it. So we're doing a lime wedge here. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Andalusian Buck. So cheers, Chef. What's going on? What we got going on?
Thanks so much, Johnny.
Thank you.
We'll turn it over to you. We're looking forward to seeing what you're doing today. Again, it's great to have alumnus Johnny Hernandez, class of '89, with us. Johnny's also chair of our CIA Alumni Council, and he's joining us there from San Antonio today. So Johnny, thank you so much for being part of it today.
Oh man, well, welcome to San Antonio, everyone. And Steve, I don't know how far you are from home, from my home, but I'm enjoying the weather. I hear we have a cold front coming.
Yep, exactly.
We have a cold front coming, but welcome to San Antonio. And, you know, I'm enjoying my attempt at that cocktail. I know I got a chance to meet the Bell Fox Distillery folks on a call a few weeks ago, and really love what they've done with this product. I've enjoyed it a few times here at home, and I love its elegance, its flavor, I mean, the depth, and the dish I'm preparing for you today really is partly inspired by the profile of this, the Bell Fox product, the Todd and Vixen's gin that I've been sampling for the last couple of weeks. So the dish today is a fall tlacoyo. And our restaurants here in San Antonio, if you've not had a chance to visit our CIA campus here in San Antonio, our restaurant, La Gloria, sits about maybe 150 yards from the CIA campus here at the Pro Brewery. Hopefully you'll get, those of you that have not been, you'll get a chance to visit our beautiful San Antonio campus and visit La Gloria, which is my Mexican restaurant that's focused on street foods of Mexico. And I thought that today, for today's pairing, a street food, one of the very first street foods that I experienced down in Central Mexico, I felt that it would be appropriate to pair with the beautiful cocktail by Mr. Tom there, sitting back in Miami enjoying the rest of his cocktail. But our focus at our restaurant is corn, stone ground corn. So our fall tlacoyo, I know we sent a recipe. The recipe is, Mexican food, and authentic Mexican food is very layered. It has a lot of texture, a lot of depth. It's one of those cultural cuisines, that I think America and the world is really just beginning to discover. So this particular dish is layered with stone ground corn. It has a beautiful filling of cream white beans, and then we make an herbal mole that I'm going to walk you through, and then we finish it with some roasted vegetables to really tie in the fall theme of this tlacoyo. Most of you probably have not heard of the word tlacoyo, but I like to share tlacoyo is like the earliest version of, let's say, an empanada. So if you've had an empanada, tlacoyo is a filled corn masa filling. So I'll show you kind of the key ingredients of the entire dish, and then we'll get started here. We have, we set up in our courtyard this afternoon, or this evening, to give you a different setting. Wanted to take you out of the kitchen and give you a little bit of a different background. So we're outdoors in my courtyard here in San Antonio at our hacienda, which is Hacienda del Morado, named after my grandmother. Here in San Antonio right now, we're celebrating Day of the Dead, and this dish will be placed on our altar here off to the side in a few minutes. We have a few steps to go through, then I'll walk you through carefully. The key and really the star of the dish is masa, right? And our stone ground corn is what we serve in our restaurants. And Central Mexico is let's just say from Saltillo all the way down to maybe Querétaro, as you get further south, going to the edges of Mérida, or the Yucatan, maybe north of the Yucatan. But this the central part of Mexico's gastronomy is based on the fundamentals of corn, and corn is the star of this dish. So if you've not heard the word nixtamal, this is nixtamalized corn. So we work with area growers here in San Antonio, just outside of San Antonio. It's non-GMO, organic corn. We also work with some growers down in Central Mexico that we buy different corn varieties from. But this is really the foundation of Central Mexican cooking, the corn. And right here, what you have is the masa that is made from this corn that is stone ground. So every day in our kitchen where we make our corn, we cook about 500 to 600 pounds of corn every morning, and it's stone ground with the same volcanic stones from thousands of years ago. It's actually the same stone, the coarse stones that are very similar to, I guess, the molcajetes that you might have seen, these Mexican mortar pesto type cooking utensil. So this is like the earliest food processor in the world right here. And these two stones that we hand cut are what grind this corn into masa, right? So that's a key essential ingredient of what we do in our restaurants. We're gonna we have a couple things going. Right here we have our white beans.
Hey Johnny, while you're on the masa, someone asked, can the masa that's purchased in the regular grocery store be used? Can they use that just as well in their
For sure. I mean, Steve, that is really what most people are gonna have to do. I mean, the reason we grow and cook our own non-GMO organic corn is because, in the marketplace today, it's very challenging to find stone ground corn. And, we really had to take it upon ourselves to produce our own nixtamal, our own stone ground corn. But the corn flour, if you follow the corn flour recipe with the water ratios, is exactly what you need to do to produce the masa that you will need for your tlacoyo, okay?
Thanks,
so
John.
but that's a very good question and a very important substitute for anybody at home. So corn flour, right? It's totally fair game. It is not easy to find stone ground corn anywhere in the U.S. really. Even in San Antonio, a city that is ground zero for Mexican food. But it's one of those traditions, it's one of those traditions that we intend to preserve and grow with, so we're selling our chips and some of our products now at our local grocery stores, at our local HEB here in San Antonio. So we're trying to really show people what stone ground corn really is, what corn tortillas are supposed to taste like. I compare it to a commercial slice of white bread to an artisan loaf of bread, an artisan crusty loaf. Those two items are worlds apart, and that's really the difference between a commercially produced corn tortilla and one that is of stone ground beginnings. So what I'm going to get started here on the left side is our mole verde. It's like an herbal mole. And then we have here our navy beans, or our white beans, which are already cooked. We have some fresh thyme, some peppers, a little bit of onion, some garlic. So just some light aromatics, a little bit of green bell pepper. So I'm trying to, obviously when we're doing pairings, we're trying to bring together different elements, different profiles to come together into this happy marriage. And that's really was the goal of this entire dish, incorporating aromatics, incorporating some of those vegetal notes of some of the vegetables that I'm using, and the elegance, the sweet elegance of this corn product that's going to hold it all, and these herbs really bring this dish together. So we have our beans here that are already cooked. We're going to puree them in just 1 second. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start our mole verde. So this mole is, it is a variation. If you've not had moles are very, they're complex, let's call them mother sauces. It's definitely a mother sauce, in my opinion, for Mexican gastronomy. And it is a difficult sauce to make. It has probably, the simplest mole might have anywhere from 18 to 20 ingredients, some up to 30 ingredients. So moles, just by nature, by design, are pretty complicated to make. So I wanted to create a mole for you that was a little simpler, not so complex. I know we have a recipe. The base of this mole is golden beets. All right, so I'm going to use the golden beets as kind of the foundation for this, because we're kind of looking for a fall theme here. I wanted to work with beets for the base. I'm going to add some white onion. All right. So basically, we're pan roasting. All right, we're pan roasting the ingredients for our mole. So this mole, half of it will be pan roasted, and when you follow the recipe, when you get to making this recipe, the other half of the mole is raw, and it's going to be our herbs, our cilantro, our parsley, our hoja santa, pablote. We have a little bit of rosemary and a little bit of thyme, and those will be the herbs that really come to bring the dish together.
Johnny, while you're roasting those the beets there, we've got a question from one of our participants out there that we're going to bring up on the screen that would like to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
We've got Jennifer R. from Cloverdale, Jennifer Rolander from Cloverdale, California. Jennifer?
Hi, Jennifer. I can hear you.
Okay.
Hey. Hi, stranger.
Hi. I'm sorry I'm not cooking with you, but I'm in Napa this afternoon. So.
Oh gosh, that's a tough place.
I know.
To have
terrible.
to be.
It's great to see you.
Well, it's great to be here, and it's fun to be able to share a little bit of what we're doing here in San Antonio in this virtual way.
Absolutely. So I had a question for you, since obviously we've all been on this lockdown. Has there been any for you time to think about any new innovations or different processes, or maybe switch up in concepts for you going forward as far as your restaurants?
Right. Well, I mean, we've been quite busy, and we definitely, there's one thing that we've been focused on, for the last 4 or 5 months is really technology and convenience, right?
Okay.
And we have now a fleet of 7 vehicles on the road, taking
Wow.
product to customers that, are customers and fans of our work. So, I think that, I feel that the convenience is something that customers will always want and ask for. We just, I think some of the technology now that's made it available, the technology now for customers for ordering and delivery, I think that software has really moved in a fast pace to accommodate our needs as the restaurants really try to take food to the customers. So I would say that the delivery models that we've been working for the last 6 months, or last 4 or 5 months, I should say, is really something that we're going to continue to build. I think
Good.
that we're gonna see our products. What I think we're gonna see a lot of is our products begin to improve that are available in that format, right?
Okay.
So I think that the packaging, now we have really time to think of, what are the appropriate products to transport and to offer customers, in a delivery format. So I mean, that's one of the things that we're working on right now. That's really, I think, is one of the fun areas of growth that we're seeing, and we're also getting into retail. So, we're a couple of weeks from being in about 50 stores across San Antonio, HEB. So we're also doing a lot of work on the retail side. So it's these are 2 very exciting areas of growth that we have that are, I mean, really going to allow us to recover from this, what we're going through.
Yeah, that sounds great. Congratulations.
Yes. Well, it's great to see you.
You too.
Thanks for joining us again this week. We appreciate you being part of it again. So thank you. Hey, Johnny, we've got one more. We've got Carol P. from Hudson, New York, that would like to ask a question.
Okay. All right. While I blend the white beans.
Yep. Go ahead. Hey, Carol, go ahead.
Okay, I had one question, which is, if you want to make this a vegetarian dish, what would you do?
Well, I mean, that's going to be an easy one because, all you have to do is take the scallops out of this dish. We do serve vegetarian items in our restaurant quite often. The wonderful thing about tlacoyos and sopes and these corn-based dishes we make is that there's a lot of depth, a lot of natural proteins in the products that we're using in the legumes and in the corn itself. So they're quite substantial as a vegetarian dish. This one doesn't even have really any dairy in it because some of the vegetarian options that we have in our restaurants have dairy. But this one is, if you take these scallops off, it's a substantial dish, and it can really, the mole and the white beans with the corn masa base will hold its own and be a great entree for a vegetarian, for sure.
You want to add mushrooms or to substitute for the scallops or some other sort of dense vegetable?
Right. Well, I mean, I think the roasted vegetables, I mean, we have some beautiful oyster mushrooms. We're going to do some asparagus tips, some carrots. I think if you have not, the tough part, I think, for, to substitute is the stone ground corn. Because the stone ground corn is what makes this dish complete and hearty for a vegetarian. So I think that a lot of times what we see, what we do with vegetarian dishes is we use a lot of whole milk cheeses. The black bean purees, white bean purees are also substantial, and we like to use them in our vegetarian dishes. So for sure, this dish translates to a vegetarian dish easily. I hope that helps.
Carol, thanks for your question, Carol. We appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Johnny, we'll turn it over to you. Let you get going on your moment.
Yes. Just to be mindful of time, I should have had a watch. How am I doing? Please help me. I want to make sure.
We're doing
make
good. We got about 20, 25 minutes still.
Okay, excellent. All right, so what you saw me, so we have our mole verde, or our herb mole going. We're roasting down our beets. I've added, and we have the onions. We've added some yellow pepper, and I've added some tomatillos. The tomatillos, you know, bring a little, a nice acidity to the dish. The sweetness of the peppers also give it a really nice profile to this. So we're gonna cook this down just a little bit. We're almost ready, but I'm gonna hit the white bean puree just a little bit more. Let's get our spatula. The one thing when you're making your white bean puree, you want to do it with just barely enough liquid, because you want this to be nice and firm. This actually has pureed. It's actually pureed nicely. That's actually going to work nice. The one thing that I wanted to mention was the pans right here that are Heston sent me are just gorgeous. So I have to thank, you know, Heston for providing them. They are just beautiful. I love the detail of the pans. I don't know, Steve, if you had a chance to use them, but they are super nice. I have the saute pan, a saucepan. We're using them for all our recipes that we're making for you today. So this is our white bean puree. Again, I have some aromatics in here, a little salt, a little white pepper. We have a little bit of garlic, a little onion, and this is going to be one of the layers of our tlacoyo. Right. Our mole is just about, this is the base of our mole, just about ready here. You want to be careful. You don't, I mean, you want some caramelization, but not heavy, okay? This is, we got some good caramelization on our beets, on our tomatillos, and our onions. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off. Yes, sir.
Yeah, someone had asked, because that's what I think that they had missed, was seeing that you did add the tomatillas there to the beet and onion mixture as well. So awesome, thank you.
Yes. So yes, we added tomatillos and the yellow peppers. I'm gonna just throw a little bit of garlic in there. I really don't want to brown that garlic. We're really trying to cook down the beets and just give them a more intense kind of a sweet, bring the sweetness out of that beet out for this dish. All right, so we're gonna let that cool here just for a couple seconds. I pulled it off. Well, we have our blender here. We have our sweet roasted beets. We have a little cilantro that I'm putting in here. All right, so this is hoja santa, a root beer plant. I know they, you know, I think a substitute could be a little bit of dill, a little arugula. Here's another tough one. I mean, these plants are, I mean, I grow this in my yard, okay? They're easy to grow, but they're not common, you know, in the American cuisine. But this papalo is just a beautiful herb that is elegant, pungent, and we're gonna put a lot of parsley in here. All right, so cilantro, hoja santa, okay? We have parsley, papalo, which was this one here, all right? And I know I provided a few substitutes in the recipe notes for you. And we're gonna puree this. I'll sneak a little bit of thyme, a little bit of rosemary. We're really trying to make this, you know, very herbal forward, okay? Blending. There it goes. Beautiful green color. We're gonna finish it with a little bit of pumpkin seeds, okay? Just a little bit. It adds a really nice creaminess to the dish, or to the sauce. I'm gonna put some salt. We need some salt. All right. These blenders. All right, so, I mean, again, this mole is going to be one of the easier ones to make. All right, and moles, you know, if you have moles, they're going to be a combination of nuts, chilies, spices, aromatics, you know, and then this is just a modern interpretation that we created for this dish.
Great.
We're going to move on. So
awesome. We've got another question from Laurel from Ithaca that we're going to bring up here too while you're getting ready to cook.
Here's our dishes coming together. I don't want to run out of time. I'm going to start roasting some ingredients here while I help answer a few questions.
Great.
Look at these beautiful pans. They're gorgeous. Hello.
Hey there.
Hi.
You may have already answered my question, but so I'm from northern New Mexico, and our chili sauce is very much like a mole. So I always like to play around. And I'm just curious, if you're going to try to create a new mole, what ingredients do you start with first? I mean, I always add nuts and different spices, but I always start with chili. So,
you know, I think, you know, I love herbs in mole. You know, mole is going to have a little chilies in the background, right? I mean, if you don't have chilies in there, you're not making mole, right? Because mole is one of those endemic items, you know, of the Americas that are essential for mole. I love herbs. You know, I think that the use of herbs are probably one of my favorite for moles. I think the one of the opportunities for mole, if you're creating mole, is fruit. I love seasonality of fruit in moles. A lot of times, I think you have to think of maybe how do you intensify the fruit flavor to really come through, because it's competing against spices, it's competing against chocolate, it's competing against the chilies. So your fruit, if you want that fruit to come through, you know, think of oven roasting peaches or oven roasting apricots and really intensifying those fruit flavors. But I love the use of fruit and herbs in mole. I think those are probably some of my favorite. You know, when we're trying to create flavors. I mean, mole is you know, like I said earlier, it's a mother sauce, you know, in my opinion, in Mexican cuisine. But it is one that it requires skill, it requires precision, discipline, and well-balanced, you know, because the moles, you're not supposed to really have a singular item really dominate, right? It's supposed to be a subtle balance of ingredients in that mole, right? So it's not easy to make a good mole. I taught a class actually at the CIA a long time ago to a group of executive chefs from a hotel chain, and it was a mole class. It was because they, you know, I mean, you think of it was like, I don't know, 30 executive chefs in this class, and they realized the complexity in a mole real fast. The balancing of the nuts, the chocolate, the chilies, and the spices. It's a serious thing. Requires a lot of practice. So I think that, you know, for us, seasonality and fruit and herbs are what we focus on when we're creating new moles. Yeah, so hope that helps.
Too.
Yeah, yes,
like
yes.
Cranberries and
Oh, we appreciate your question. Johnny,
so here
we tell what you've just done there, because while you were explaining the mole.
Right. So what I'm doing is I'm roasting the ingredients that are going to go on top of our tlacoyo. Okay. So we have just carrots. We have a little bit of asparagus tips. I'm going to drop a few scallops in here, some beautiful dry stacked scallops, and we have some oyster mushrooms. I'm only going to make a few tlacoyos, so we don't need a lot. I mean, tlacoyos are, you know, I mean, this is a special dish. Requires, you know, definitely, there's a lot of ingredients as you're seeing them all come together, okay? We're going to just lightly roast these in the pan. I'm going to take them out in just a few minutes. Just move them around a little bit. These mushrooms are coming together nicely. Right. let me just put this here. We're going to, all right, so here's our roasted oyster mushrooms. These are beautiful yellow mushrooms, oyster mushrooms from a local grower here in San Antonio. So we have some scallops. I'll get these carrots out of here. And then we move on to our, we're going to move on to our base, our masa-based tlacoyo in just a few minutes.
Great. While you're doing that, then we've got one more question. All
right.
Patricia from just up the road from you in Round Rock.
Right.
Patricia, let's bring you up.
Little salt.
There we go.
We got to season everything. Hello, Patricia.
Yeah. There you go, Patricia.
Hey,
Hello.
Chef. This has been great. Hey, I've been to a restaurant in San Antonio called Ernesto's. It's a Mexican restaurant, Mexican dishes with a French flair, crepes, a lot of butter
Right.
sauce with Mexican flavors. So I guess you
Right.
call it Mexican-French fusion. So one, what are your thoughts about fusion to begin with, or do you consider it sacrilege? And if you don't, what other kinds of cuisines do you think would be feasible, if you want to call it that, with Mexican?
You're talking about just the bringing of flavors and cultures and technique together? Is that what the...
Yes, exactly.
Well, you know, I think that there are some wonderful things that that go so well together in terms of cultural cuisines, right? You know, one of my favorite is, you know, Chinese. You know, you think of Chinese and you think of Japanese and you think of food, you know, the foods of South America, the chifa, you know, of Peru. I mean, I think our cultural cuisines, you know, marry so well together. You know, for Mexican food, I think that, you know, you see a lot of similarities in Indian food. I did some work, you know, in the UK, and, you know, I saw a lot of similarities in technique, a lot of similarities in the ingredients. You know, I think that, so some of these cultural cuisines really work well together, you know, so those are probably some of my favorite that I like. I have a friend of mine who's challenged me a few times already. He's like, when are we going to open up the Indian Mexican street food restaurant?
And I can see that because, you know, a lot of Mexican dishes, you know, you cook the same protein 3 different ways before it's ready. And in Indian culture, there's lots of sauces, lots of very labor-intensive dishes also. Yeah. I was also thinking of Vietnamese with its really fresh flavors.
Yes.
Like, I can picture like a rice paper spring roll with charred meat and chilies and pickled carrots in it with or something.
Well, you know, I think there's a couple restaurants that do just an incredible job here in town with sushi, Japanese food, you know, and they marry a lot of great traditions, or let's say flavors, with in sushi, and that is unbelievable, some of the work they do. But I mean, I think that, again, you know, our restaurants, I know that we have one called Burgerteca, okay? And Burgerteca is a burger concept infused with American traditional burgers, you know? So we are definitely always trying to find that perfect marriage of cultures, you know, in our cuisine. We can't help but be creative.
Patricia, thanks for your question there.
So, okay, we're going to get to the important part here of the making of the tlacoyo, which is the base. This is a tortilla press, okay? You can buy these in any kind of a Latin American store. What your masa, remember your masa, okay? You're going to follow the recipe on the bag, all right? And to make a tlacoyo, you know, you want to roll it in a kind of a small little sausage shape. This is maybe about 2.5 ounces of masa. And let's give this a try here. In Mexico, they make these by hand, okay? They don't even use a press. But all it is an oval-shaped tortilla, okay? It's an oval-shaped tortilla. It's a little thicker than what you might have in let's say a corn tortilla. Let me flip this over. like that. Loosen it up, and it comes right out, okay? So here's one of our tlacoyos. The one thing that you have to look for, that I'm gonna give you a quick tip. You see this shape. If you see cracking at the edge of this, then your masa needs a little bit more water, okay? So just a quick tip, I wanna make sure that you have the right moisture in your masa. This is just a little Ziploc bag that we cut in half. Remember, this is about 2.5 ounces of masa. All right. And a light press with one of these little tortilla presses, like that. Okay. That. This is, I'll make 3 of them, okay? How am I doing on time, Steve? How am I doing on time? I don't want to run out of time.
8 minutes there, Johnny. You're still
okay, good. Okay, let me take it easy then. All right, so I'll tell you a couple things about tlacoyos and botanas, because tlacoyo kind of falls in that category of Mexican botanas or appetizers, okay? And it depends kind of where you are in Mexico, that they're going to call these dishes by different names. And there might be some slight variations. Like if you're in Veracruz, they may pinch the edges or the center and call it a pellizcada. If you're in San Luis, they may pinch the edges of this and call it a sope, right? So just keep in mind that this is, at the end of the day, a tlacoyo is a corn dish, a corn masa appetizer, and it is, it is from Central Mexico. There is actually, a small town where these were made first, and it's in Nahua. I can't even pronounce the name, but tlacoyo is just an open-faced corn tortilla. And sometimes some people may have heard it called maybe huaraches. Maybe some people have called it sopes. Okay, so I'm gonna put that down. Look at that beautiful pan. Okay.
Hey, Johnny, someone asked too, what's the, you kind of explaining the difference with botanas, but they asked about it being, kind of the difference from an arepa.
Well, arepas, I think, are from El Salvador, right? But again, you know what? An arepa is, again, it falls kind of in that category of masa appetizer botana dishes. And I mean, it is just called different things in different regions of Mexico, right? So, arepas, which have gotten popular, are also fall within that category. Yeah, and arepas, they have, and again, I guess they have a lot of different toppings, different ingredients, different fillings. All right.
Hey, Johnny,
I had my.
Are you just using the simple vegetable oil for when you're?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little olive oil. I'm gonna tell you what, this pan, these Heston pans are unbelievable. This one is one of the Nano Bond, and it's like magic. Nothing is sticking to it. And I have to tell you that masa is a true test.
Yeah.
Masa is a true test, because if masa doesn't stick to it, it's going to do well with half of anything else that you put on it. So we have our beautiful tlacoyos going here. All right, and we're going to start building now. These are almost ready. And like I said, this is going to work fine if you use a corn flour out of a bag. But I hope that one day you can come and visit and have it with stone ground corn, because man, it is a world apart. The flavor, the depth of this corn is why we stone grind it every day. So we have our bean puree. Let me get my ingredients here. We have our mole verde. Okay, I'm gonna just taste this just for salt. Really nice. Wow, that is good. The hoja santa, the papalo, the fresh herbs, a little bit of those nuts, just make it really elegant. The green herbal, notes on the mole are gonna go so well. All right, so these sopes or tlacoyos, I should say, we're gonna put, about almost 2 tablespoons. And this is a street food, so be able to eat it with your hands, or you need a fork and a knife, you can do that too. All right, so about 2 tablespoons of the white bean puree on the bottom. Really, really nice.
Substitute for the hoja santa.
I think I put some notes in the recipe for y'all, and I think you can use arugula. You can use a little. I mean, at the end of the day, hoja santa, I don't want to put too much, is they call it a root beer plant, right? So a root beer plant, think of root beer. I mean, I would think that dill, a little bit of kind of the fennel, right? Maybe like a little bit of fennel would be nice. We got maybe about a tablespoon of this herb mole. I mean, the aroma, too bad you can't smell this. That's because it smells just wonderful. The aromas of this mole is unbelievable.
Well, it looks beautiful, Johnny.
And then we're going to we have our asparagus, we have our roasted carrots. We just garnish a little bit. Okay. I mean, you could use baby carrots. It might be a little easier. I know they sell those in the grocery store, But some fall, the idea was kind of just a fall theme, right? And then we have a couple beautiful scallops that we're going to put on them. And these are just served open face. And again, this could be a simple vegetarian dish with just a little bit more of the roasted vegetables, right? So you have the fall mushrooms that really are going to go beautifully with this. Okay. And then we'll just add our seared scallops. I mean, you could, a lot of times sopes are finished with a little bit of queso fresco, but I don't think we needed that today. I mean, we have plenty of flavor, plenty of color, beautiful herbal notes in what we have here. So then we have our scallops. Right? And I have 4 scallops. And I only have 3 tlacoyos. But you know what? You know what I'm going to do real quick? Before I finish, I think what's appropriate here for this dish, just to make it right, let me slice these right in half, okay? I want these scallops just to sit a little bit lower and a little easier for guests to enjoy, okay? So I'm going to slice these scallops right in half. This is not going to be a tlacoyo that you're going to find in the streets of Mexico, okay? This is definitely, something that, that's a creation of what we put together to go with that beautiful gin, that beautiful cocktail that Mr. Tom put together for us earlier. But I think slicing these scallops in half really make this presentation a little easier for guests to enjoy. And then we always, a little bit of fresh herbs on it. I mean, the herbs on this dish, are really what this mole is, right? It's an herbal mole. Okay. And there you have your simple tlacoyos. How does that look?
Johnny, that is just beautiful. I wish I was right there. It smells. Sometimes you kind of do feel like you're even smelling it, and I guess it's just in my imagination there. So, that is wonderful.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, no.
So much.
This is home.
presenting this for your demo today. What we're going to do too before we get close out, we want to ask everybody, anybody that's been cooking along or that would like to kind of come up on screen, we want to kind of get a picture too with everybody up on screen that's kind of participated today. So if you'd like to kind of raise your hand and we'll start bringing you up onto the screen and we'll
Steve,
get a big group shot. Yeah, Johnny?
Right. And can I just quickly say, I mean, I know that, we obviously our sponsors are, who have supported us through this. And I know this is a tough time for our industry and for our students. I know what our students are going through there in New York and all our campuses. And, from San Antonio, from our restaurants, we'd like to make a donation, towards the fundraising on behalf of La Gloria. We would definitely like to make a scholarship donation for you of $2,500 towards the efforts. And, I know you're going through a lot out there. It's been a tremendous challenge. And I've seen what y'all are having to deal with to keep our students safe. And, we want to support you as much as we can. So that's a gift that we'd love to give the school.
Johnny, thank you so much. I mean, that is just above and beyond. We appreciate your time and to think of the students. You're always so generous and so supportive of all of our students and the efforts at CIA. And everyone, we greatly appreciate it. And I know our students do as well. And that really is, that's some of the demos that the chefs are doing today is, anyone who would like to can also make a donation as well. You can go to our www.ciachef.edu/give and make a donation as well. And Vail Fox is also matching donations that come in as well. So that's a huge gift and a match that came in as well today then for your donation. So thank you.
Well, I'll just say that the challenge today is that we're not able to do things the way we normally do, right? So we have to get creative. We're using technology, and there's a lot of people out there who I know want to support the continued education of the youth, in our profession, and nurturing the talent of the future is important. So, we appreciate everybody who supports our students in our school.
Well, thank you, Johnny, and thank you too again to Vail Fox for making it possible today. With this, I also want to do a big shout out to our team from Topeka Live, who's been helping you bring this series to everyone today. So I tell you, now that I think we got a pretty full screen there, if everybody's enjoyed, I do see some folks cooking in the kitchen too, but how about a big wave to Chef Johnny, or a big round of applause for Chef Johnny today for all he's done. So we really, Johnny, thank you so much. I think everybody, I'm sure, has enjoyed it as well. And if you've enjoyed cooking along with Chef Johnny today, we've got 2 more cooking series coming up. We've got JJ Johnson next week on November 1st, and then we have Kariana Hong on November 8th. So we'd love to see you back. And again, in addition to, our professional culinary education that we do offer 2-day, 2 to 5-day boot camp classes, and even 1-day food enthusiast classes at each of our campuses in New York, up in Hyde Park, up in St. Helena, California, and in San Antonio, Texas. So if you can make it, or even to Copia out in Napa, we'd love to see you and have you at one of our boot camp classes. And just so you know as well, we currently are operating, our campus is closed to protect the health and safety of our students and faculty and staff. But to stay up to date, you can visit ciafoodies.com to get the latest information. So it was, again, great to have you. Johnny, I think I wanted to show you, Johnny's done something special as well for Dia de los Muertos. So Johnny, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to walk over to present the food at our altar, all right?
Beautiful.
So if you've, for those of you that are celebrating out in different parts of the country, San Antonio is one of those cultural cities that has so many ties to Mexico. And this is an altar that I made here today for my father. But these are, at every altar, you see elements of fire, you see food, you see, the papel picado, you see Catrinas. But this is called an ofrenda. And it is one of the most significant elements of Day of the Dead, because it is the place where you remember your friends and family. And, you know, COVID has been a challenging year for us. And I think we're going to be celebrating Day of the Dead here in San Antonio and across the country in a pretty intense way. So I'm glad that you get a chance to see a little bit of what our cultura here from San Antonio. And remember, to really to honor your friends and family that we've lost this year. And this is our ofrenda to Dad.
Oh, Johnny, that's beautiful. Thank you again so much. We appreciate your time. And thank you again to everyone who joined us this afternoon. We loved having you here and hope you enjoyed cooking along with Johnny as much as we all did too. So Johnny, thank you. And we will see you all soon. Thank you again. Have a great day.